Welcome to Auto Transport Intel Tuesday Nights Live. We have John from Larick Towing and Transport. We have Derick Hopkins from Fine Line Transportation. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Jay.
Yeah, thanks for having me also, Jay.
I really appreciate it. I know you guys are busy, and I know that we're talking about driver shortage, driver retention, driver recruitment. I'll start with this. Driver shortage. We hear it. People get asked about it. This has been an ongoing topic for years. What are we supposed to think? Is it there? Is this a simple issue? I don't know.
Well, it's definitely there. The problem is there's not a lot of the younger generation getting in the car hauling. It's just there's not people willing to learn how to haul cars. I guess there is people eager to drive a truck and, they think they're going to make the big bucks, but just this generation, there's not a lot of younger drivers coming into it, trucking in general, as there used to be, let alone car hauling.
And what I see happening is a lot of times we'll see somebody that's coming up out of the towing field or something that's basically starting to move cars and maybe goes into a wedge or something, and then they want to move up. But the hardest part is getting them trained on a 10 car, or getting them to learn how to load a car carrier and be able to put the puzzle together to put the cars onto the vehicle.
So okay, so already, so I'm going to try and partition a couple issues. Number one, training is hard.
I could tell you off the bat, anyone that we get calls all the time. We just do not have a training program available. The way our workflow goes, we don't have a lot of work where we can put somebody on and are doing a lot of loading versus driving. I kind of learned, John referenced the towing, like I started in towing. I started driving a rollback, then I drove a 4-car, and then my boss at the time got a 7-car trailer. He didn't know how to load it. We kind of taught ourselves, and then once it came to like a 9-car, I was kind of like 10-car. I was kind of thrown in it, and I leaned on people that I knew, like kind of a small network. And they, I would see them at auctions, or, I would like take in everything I could at the time. But it seems to me like there's just not a lot of the people that are like go-getters willing to, they just want to come in and earn the big bucks right off the bat.
Right. And so I'm going to, go ahead, please, John.
No, and I think that one of the problems too is that, our insurance companies are not willing to let us bring somebody in doesn't have an experience at all, and give them a chance to even try to train them and stuff. I mean, right away they want to make sure that they have driving experience and they have a clean CDL, and that's a big factor also when you're trying to bring somebody up, because you figure if you're going to bring somebody up and they don't want to make a lot of money in the beginning, they want to learn. The insurance companies aren't going to let that happen. So that's one of our problems also.
So exactly. So the problems begin. I mean, that's why I came up with I've got on the wheel of topics tonight, I've got 12 line items. I was trying to partition these things. But number one, training is hard. Number two, we talked about how, people want to just be the owner, make the big bucks. And then number three, there's the liability and insurance problems. And these are 3 separate problems. They're tied together. But on the training issue, I want to clarify, is there no place to get good training then? Is there no location, group, organization, program?
Well, there was a car hauling school in Florida for a while.
Right.
And I don't know the exact reasons why it failed, but there is a company around Pennsylvania that is they're talking about starting one with a technical school. So that's a good start.
That's a good idea.
Supposedly the person that will be teaching them used to haul cars and they know about trucks. And I mean, car hauling, a lot of it is like common sense and, mechanical stuff or just thinking it through. That's my opinion on it. I mean, like John said, the insurance thing is a big issue. Some people, get experience driving, and they don't want to like venture out into something, a lot of times, I know a lot of people have come from flatbedding. I guess that's like the closest thing to car hauling, driving a truck, like the concepts. But it's you would think nowadays with wheel straps and everything that's coming to this industry, there'd be a lot more, a lot more drivers. Like before, you used to have to know where the tie downs were and, how to chain them, what hooks to use. That's all out of the equation now. All it is throw wheel straps over it, and it's still hard, I don't know. I'm just at a loss why when I started, there was a lot of younger people around in the industry. And, I can tell you, like, there's not really many qualified drivers that come across my desk that are younger than 35 years old at this point.
And where I find out that happens with Jay, where training, a lot of the bigger companies do. They do training. They'll bring somebody in and put them with another driver, but those guys are all local. You don't see them doing, basically what we do is long haul, where these other companies are sending guys out every day and stuff, and they do. I can honestly tell you that some of the bigger companies out there do have some training schools and stuff, but it's really hard on them. It's they train these guys, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of times they get trained, they stay with them for a little while, and they end up leaving and going to another company.
And that leads into retention, right? You've trained them, and now they went somewhere else.
Right.
That happens a lot.
Yeah, that's a terrible problem, right? Because you've just invested in somebody, and they left.
And I've heard there's certain companies, like if you train with them, you have to sign a contract that you're going to stay a year, 2 years. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what I hear.
That's what temp agencies do.
Right.
I mean, you can't.
I mean, they should.
Leave.
I mean, they're investing.
Yeah.
A lot of money in the people. They're having a senior driver that, knows what they're doing. I mean, let's be honest, you probably need a good month with somebody doing 2 loads a day before you really get comfortable in a Stinger tractor. Different load combinations, getting in and out of, dealerships aren't the easiest thing to get into.
Forget about it. Yeah, exactly. There are so many, and that's the thing is, whether it's a wheel strap or a complicated undercarriage chain situation, there are so many factors way beyond just strapping down the car, right, that make this really hard to learn and do well.
But what Derick was saying is true now. Nowadays, the manufacturers won't even let us use any chains at all.
Yeah,
Everything's got to be wheel strap.
Exactly. I'm sure with your OEM, whoever you're working for, they don't want to hear the word chains.
Not at all. Nowadays, it's done. They see you with chains on the truck. They're not even gonna let you out of the gate.
Right. I've heard that too. Right. Exactly. Like at a GM plant. Sure. Yeah. They don't want to hear it. You can't even. In fact, I've heard that you have to take your jacket off so the zippers don't scratch the paint. I mean, right? There's all kinds of ways and things you have to know to be a savvy car hauler. Here's a question I have for you. So if you need to work your way up through the ranks, I mean, that makes sense. That's how a lot of jobs are. Do you have some smaller trailers that folks could, build up experience on before they get to the Stinger?
I mean, we don't. We everything we have is a 9 or a 10 car carrier.
Okay.
I have one 5-pack that does local deliveries around, the Philly area, New Jersey, whatnot. But all our trucks are 9 and 10 car carriers. So, I mean, John has more smaller trucks where he can maybe graduate somebody up.
Right.
Yeah, we've taken some of our guys and put them in a flatbed and stuff. We've taught them on a flatbed so they know how to do. They learn how to do inspection reports. They know how to go into the dealership and present themselves. And then from there, we can move them into a 5-pack. That kind of gives them an idea how to use straps, how to load them up, and that's hauling. That's putting 5 cars on the truck. And then from there, we're hoping at that point that they'll move up into a Stinger, but. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes these guys just find out it's not for them. We've lost some real good drivers that have just said, look, I don't want to haul cars no more, that they'd rather go out and drive a dump truck, So it all depends. But we try really hard here to move them up the best we can.
So let's talk about folks that they want to start their own business. They're looking for the big money, etc. I don't want to couch it like it's not valid. It's valid. Everybody has their valid feelings and dreams and aspirations. But there's got to be some folks that just on its face would be better off being a company driver or working their way up before just jumping and starting a business. There has to be.
I mean, I think that's most of people, like I worked for somebody in car hauling 10 years before I started my own business. And I watched what I kind of taught myself, but I watched what other friends that we work with did and saw things that happened and maybe mistakes that were made. But, nowadays it's with the insurance. Insurance is the number one thing, like they're really cranking down on new entrants, with insurance and everything. Like it's a big risk to take to just jump in there. I don't know how to haul cars. Let me go buy my own truck and, I'm going to haul cars and make a bunch of money. Like I was nervous after, like I said, working for somebody else for 10 years, doing it myself. And, I saw a lot of mistakes happen before that. I kind of had a lot of knowledge, and it was still tough getting up and off the ground, and where am I going to get money to pay fuel and everything else, so like, I don't know. I kind of like, it's definitely good advice to work for somebody else first. I've had drivers come here and, work for, 2-3 years. They went and bought their own truck, went on their own. I've had other guys go buy their own truck, lease it to me. Definitely I would not recommend, it's not going to hurt working for somebody for a year, 2 years, 3 years first to kind of get the lay of the land before you just jump in with 2 feet.
Right, and I feel the same way. I feel that they've got to try it. They got to make sure that it is for them, because it takes a certain person to be a car hauler. And like I said, I saw Derick. I knew Derick when he worked for the other company, and I know that him and Cindy, they invested a lot of money into it, just getting started alone, and that was a big leap right there. And all you got to do is have a couple little mishaps, and or your truck breaks down, you can't afford to fix it, or price of fuel goes crazy, or freight just disappears, and you're going to be done. You're going to be out of business before you know it. So it's a big chance to take to start on your own, but some people do it. Some people start out small. They keep their equipment down. They keep their overhead down, but it's not easy. When, like Derick said, if you look at some of the companies that are folding down, they're saying that the reason why they're closing up is because they can't afford the increases in insurance.
So, this is a perfect time to discuss, and I know I sound like a dream killer, and I put it out there, but there has got to be a majority of folks that are ready to start a car hauling business that are going to find it impossible to make those payments in that first year. Truck, trailer, insurance, and then getting the experience and all the certifications and everything that goes with it. A certain amount of those folks are going to be better off becoming company drivers, on the job training. How does that message get out there? Because I don't know if that message is out there. That's why I'm doing this episode.
I think what you're
well,
doing
I think a lot of a lot of people look at what you make hauling a dry van or a reefer and then compare it to car hauling, and they see, oh, they get this much per mile, but they don't factor in other things like you just said: insurance, deadhead, damages. I mean, it's a lot easier to damage a car than it is if you have a dry van and somebody's loading and unloading you. You know, like, these are all things that there's a lot of other things in car hauling that people don't see. They just see, oh, you know, this load pays this, where, you know, if you took a dry van, like, oh, it pays $1.80 per mile. But if I'm getting $2.60 a mile hauling cars, that's big bucks. But at the end of the day, that's not big bucks. Like, at $2.60 a mile, if you're doing everything right, you know, you might make some money, but, you know, you have a big breakdown, you know, then it's all goes down the drain.
Actually, I find it incredibly frustrating how I think that trucking, car hauling, we were behind on software as far as the rest of the world is concerned. I think we're also behind on reality of where your money goes in respect to the rest of the world, because there's all these folks dumping all this money out on seats and envelopes, and there's money coming out of their ears. We haven't gotten to the bills yet. Right? Is it me?
Well, then, yeah, wait until they have to get road service on the truck or replace a tire. That's when they're going to wake up real quick, you know, because, I mean, it's just, you know, we're out there. I mean, especially if it's somebody that hasn't been in business that long, they don't even know who to call. You're out there, you know, you got to keep the truck up to, you know, to date. And you're always replacing straps. You know, like I said, one of our biggest things is tires, you know.
I was just saying, the amount of money that a truck driver spends on tires just hauling a 3 or 4 car trailer, they wouldn't believe it.
No, they won't. And the problem is when they find out, it's way too late. But the problem is we can sit there and we can tell them that this is what's going to happen, but sometimes they just don't. It's almost like they don't believe us, like we don't want them in business. We want them in business. We want them to learn.
Yes.
But our whole thing was like myself and Derick are both saying, you know, work for somebody first. Make sure it's what you want to do. Save some money. Make sure you got some decent money in the bank, so when you do start up, you know, you're not going to get put out of business within, you know, 6 months, because you know your renewal is going to come up. Like Derick said, all you need is a couple of damage claims, and all of a sudden the insurance company's not going to rewrite you the next time. And now you invested all this money into the equipment. What are you going to do? Give it back to the bank? I mean, that's the hardest part of business.